Sean Hannity today at 1, Glenn Beck tonight at 7. Only on Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up.
Little gambling music to start your Monday. Very pleased to go back to our VIP line where we're joined by Patrick Neville, the Colorado State House of Representatives minority leader, the leading Republican in the State House of Representatives. Patrick, first of all, good morning. Thanks for being here. Hope you had a great Easter.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ross.
Before we get to politics, could you just give us 45 seconds? You maybe talked out already on this, but just 45 seconds on what Saturday meant to you as a survivor of Columbine 20 years ago?
It meant quite a bit, seeing and hearing the stories from all my friends who went through that day and how a lot of us have turned it into good things in our lives. And, it was a really difficult day for me. I really wanted to go to a lot of the different events, but I chose not to go because I don't think the day should be political whatsoever. And I just was worried that even my presence, even though if I was unannounced, I had teachers and students ask me to go to the alumni thing.
Mm-hmm.
But just even my presence, people would want to come and talk politics, and I didn't want to insert that into the conversation. So even though I really wanted to go, I stayed back and chose not to go, and just kind of monitored on social media and heard some stories from my friends. And I'll look forward to hooking up with them at a different point, but didn't think that was the right day to do it.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think you handled that just right. Not that what I think matters at all in that case. I invited you on the show to talk about probably one of the rare occasions this year in which you and Alec Garnett are on the same side of a bill. I'm sure there's more than one, but probably not a lot more than one. And House Bill 1327 to authorize and tax sports betting upon voter approval. What's your take on this, and why are you sponsoring it?
Well, I think right now you see this already happening. It's just happening through offshore accounts, through Bitcoin. It's a market that's already out there, a black market that I think we need to control. This is a little bit different than some of the other things we've debated. I've heard people try to compare it to heroin injection sites. The big difference there is you can't inject heroin through the internet in some server in Shanghai. You can do a sports bet through that, and it's already happening right now. So I think whatever we can do to try to tame that black market is a good idea, and then try to keep what we have in Colorado, the unique relationship we have with gaming in Colorado, intact while doing it. I think we're there with the bill we have. I know there's some people talking about certain minor tweaks to it here and there, but overall I think we got a pretty good thing going forward. And then ultimately, again, it's going to be for the voter approval, so the voters are going to have the final say.
So you and I are both very pro-free market kinds of people. And as I see this bill and learn to understand it a little bit more, and by the way, I am in favor of this bill, one of the things that bothers me just a little is the degree to which it seems like all of the benefits are going to go to, or at least through, the existing casinos operating in Black Hawk and Central City and Cripple Creek. So maybe there's just something for later that maybe couldn't be done as a first step, but I wish there were a little more freedom, like where we could open Ross and Patrick's online sports book or Ross and Patrick's sports betting bar, in Larimer Square.
Right. I think the bar is one of the things that we had a lot of different concerns, and we even had some pushback from the teams and some other folks that wanted physical betting on their sites. I think it's, me too, I also took an oath to the Constitution, and I don't think that's in the spirit of our Constitution. I think voters voted in the Colorado Constitution and made it plain and clear that they wanted gaming to stay in Central City, Black Hawk, and Cripple Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important that we keep the physical book there. This will give the ability for people to go and compete for contracts with 17 different master licenses. Possibly we're talking about opening up to all casinos, not just the owners of the casinos. That would double that amount. And then, of course, any future casino that opens up under the existing regulatory code that they have in those different towns, the mountain towns that operate gaming right now, could certainly take advantage of this as well.
And I suppose to the extent that you believe and Alec Garnett believes that a huge percentage of the gambling will take place on your phone, basically, that you don't necessarily need a sports betting bar. You just open a sports bar and people will be betting in it on the app, right?
Yeah, that's very possible. You've heard talk in other states of like Buffalo Wild Wings wanting in-person betting and kind of that kiosk model in their business, and we've really tried to stay away from that. And part of it's the current regulatory structure we have with gaming in Colorado is extremely complicated. So it's good to actually route it through those casinos so that we can actually keep that current regulatory structure intact and use that same regulatory structure. Another thing that I really wanted in the bill that wanted left out in the bill that was included is making sure that all the new revenue that comes under this bill is actually going to be under the cap of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. So if it ends up being a huge windfall too, it could also turn into tax refunds for people.
So it is being done the way you wanted it done.
For the most part, there's obviously, when you go into these negotiations, you don't get everything that you want. But
right. The Tabor aspect, though, is being done the way you wanted.
That's correct. I didn't know if the water plan was necessarily the best source to send the revenue to, but we already have plans and a pretty good agreement that we should be doing about $10 million for the next 2 years. It's definitely one of those plans that does need to be funded because water is a huge issue in Colorado. I like the idea. My original thought was just send it to the general fund to have it go towards whatever priority we want to put it to, because I think we have a lack of prioritization in Colorado's budget, and that's why we're not funding our roads and bridges.
Yeah.
But, with such a small amount we're looking at, for me, the more important factor to kind of draw my line in the sand was the Taxpayer Bill of Rights cap and make sure that it's still being applied towards that.
Okay, I've got about a minute left with you, and I want to ask you about something else. I would like to get your take on the status at this point of this family and medical leave thing, which I think may still be bottled up in the Senate, but I know you guys are certainly thinking about it. Or is it a House bill to begin with?
No, it's a Senate bill, and it's a very complex bill. One of the things I don't like about it is if you look at the Constitution, Article 5, Section 31, actually all those types of bills that generate new revenue should be started in the House. It's not starting in the House. Right now, I'll just say the bill as it is not actuarially sound. It is not sustainable, and this is going to be a business killer in the state.
If you were a betting man, would you bet that this bill passes in this legislative session?
Oh, man, even though I'm on 1327, I'm not a betting man at all. But if I was, I would say probably in its current form, it's facing some major troubles. I even had conversations with the governor who's got concerns over the actuarial models that are laid out in the bill as is.
Well, I would love to see Jared Polis push back against any of these ginormous government plans that the rest of the Democrats keep sending him and he keeps signing. But keep fighting the good fight, Patrick. Patrick Neville is the leader of the Democrats, the minority leader in the State House of Representatives. Thanks so much for being here. I'm with you in support of 1327. Hope it gets done.
Okay, well, thanks for having me, Ross.
Okay, glad to. When we come back, something completely different, although still quite local. The conversation that Denver Mayor Michael Hancock, who is up for re-election in a couple of weeks, had with the U.S. Customs and Immigration Service about immigrants here in Colorado working in legal marijuana businesses. Mayor Hancock has the right side of the argument, and I don't say that all that often. I'll explain right after this.